Hey everybody, welcome to Tone Talk with Mark Uzansky and Dave Friedman. How's it going? It's Friday night. It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast, or a little bit after. And we've got a special guest, Frank Fleckenstein from Reverb. How are you, Frank?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Awesome, man. I know it's late for you in Germany. Is that where you're at?
That's correct. Or early. Depends on who you ask.
Right, exactly. Dave, what's going on with you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I think it was my birthday this last Friday, you know.
Right.
So
Happy birthday.
Oh.
The
Happy
funny
birthday.
thing, I wasn't very hungover at all. I made it through pretty well.
That's good. You guys had a party, right?
Well, yes, I had a party, which is amazing that I made it through pretty well. Because if you have a party at your own house,
Oh, yeah.
it's just licensed to
It's nice to get messy.
go for it.
Right.
But no, I maintained. I was okay
That's good.
until last night when I decided to sit around with my daughter and drink.
Oh, really? Just have some fun.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, sat around with my daughter and we had some drinks, and then it got out of hand a little. Not on my birthday, but just last night randomly.
Well, how you feeling?
Yeah, felt better. Felt better.
That's good. I'm trying to send you this.
Yeah,
link.
There's no booze. There's no booze to Nam now.
Really?
What they say in Germany is if you're able to drink, you're able to work as well.
Well, yes, and I've tested that before.
Yeah. Well,
That's a funny thing. Everyone's going to think, oh, Dave's a drunk or something. It's like the vast majority of days I don't drink. That's the funny thing.
I have to quit the messages here. I just tried sending you the link, Dave. It's not working. It's like totally locked up.
Huh?
I don't know what's going on. All right.
All right, again.
Yeah, whatever. Always some technical issues. So, Frank, man, what time is it over there? Like,
It's around 2 a.m. So
that's
yeah,
plenty late.
early. It's
pretty late.
It's pretty late and early for some,
yeah.
So
No wonder you guys wanted to do it at 5 o'clock my time.
I was feeling generous for Frank. I was like, I can't have him go on at 3 a.m. That's horrible. I felt so bad.
wow. Yeah, it's funny. I think I told you that recently, Mark. So I kind of became a fan of the show, pretty much overnight, somewhere in early summer this year, because I was traveling a lot for Reverb, and then in the evenings, you get to the hotel, you eat something, and then it's like, okay, you won't be sleeping right away. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's see what's going on YouTube. And then I was just randomly searching and found the show you did with Morgan.
Oh, Joe Morgan?
Yeah, exactly. And that was so
Yes.
funny because he was practically playing computer games all the time.
Yeah. we appreciated that a lot. Joe.
Yeah.
And I was like, is he serious? Because it looked like
Oh,
this.
he was.
Yeah, guys.
He was
Yeah,
serious.
guys. Yeah. I know. Yeah, this guy sucked. Yeah, right. Yeah, it was kind of funny. But then I got hooked up and I started binge watching more of the stuff. And I'm still you guys should have way more subscribers because you really have interesting guests on here and guys that have a cool story to tell. So keep doing what you're doing. It's great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. I mean, we've had some really amazing
There's some
guests.
future ones that are sort of lined up that are going to be really cool. So
Looking forward to that.
I just gotta. Sometimes with artists and things, it's harder to book them.
Yeah,
It's like you're chasing them.
obviously, I guess
I
that.
can do it. Okay, when can you do it? I don't know. Let me get back to you.
Mhm.
Artists, right?
Yeah. Well, it we've got time. They'll and then I'm going to Nam. We'll meet people there.
Yeah,
Get
I
more.
find there's a whole sort of psychology to artists generally. You
Yeah.
have to you. I just learned over the years. It's like you gotta be you kind of open your eyes and see how they are, and then you kind of work your way around whatever quirks they might have, shall we say.
And everybody has different quirks.
A yes, and all a yes. I've worked with enough artists over the years, but that's fine. You learn after a while. You get good at it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I mean, you have to adjust to people's personality. I'm sure you've been doing that for years, Dave. Every artist that you've.
Yeah, the most thing that I've ever learned about dealing with artists is don't let them tell you what they want. Do not interject your opinion unless asked. That's if they ask your opinion, okay, then you can give it to them. But don't just go, you know what I think you should do? It doesn't work out well.
Oh,
Really?
interesting.
Yeah, no, you have to kind of
Make them think it's their idea.
get to that eventually. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. There's
But-
a whole host of techniques, right, to get people to.
It's a whole host of techniques, and everyone's different.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So Frank, you used to be where we met. Actually, was when you were at Positive Grid, right?
That's true. I think the first time that we met in person was 2018 at NAM. I think that was the first time we actually ran into each other.
Mm-hmm.
And before, I'm not sure, but we've been in touch before. Maybe not personally, maybe not face to face, but yeah. So yeah, that's what I did before. I worked at a Positive Grid, so you most likely know Eric, or Eric, Eric Sands.
Yep. I know
who
Eric.
was like my counterpart in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And it's with Positive Grid, it was kind of funny because I started out years ago doing videos for them, basically like demo videos of their stuff.
Oh, really?
The software, the software and the hardware. And then when they found out, or when their CEO found out that I had a background in NMI, a long history in the MI industry, he was like, "Hey, we need someone to establish us, grow the business in Europe with the hardware." And yeah, that's how it started with Positive Grid.
I see. And now you've been at Reverb for 2 years?
2017, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
2.5 years, yeah.
It's going great, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's still there's still a lot of challenges. So my territory is everything that's German language. So Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. I also take care about a couple of neighbor countries, Poland. It's definitely smaller markets, but it's fun because there's interesting stuff around.
What are you specifically doing for Reverb?
So I'm overlooking the entire territory. So I'm looking for dealers that are looking for an additional sales channel. I am looking for private individuals that have a habit of flipping gear a lot, or collectors. I'm looking, for the most part, I'm also looking for small businesses, like small 1-2 man operations. These guys don't have, their only sales channel is the store that they're working in. And for some of these guys, we were able to really bring their business to the next level, simply because we said, hey, create this additional channel, this window to the world for you, And if it works, great. If it doesn't, well, you didn't pay anything for it because you didn't sell anything. And
Right.
so that has been proven to be pretty successful, especially if you look at the German market and what we're up against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then like what?
Well,
Like or like
so
retail?
you're like soliciting dealers or people, to try to use Reverb as their platform, or some stores even now it's their website basically.
Exactly.
Right.
That's my goal. Obviously, Reverb has always been a pretty like mixed and nicely blended community of private individuals, mom and pop stores, brick and mortar retail stores, um, collectors. I just recently met a guy who most likely has the biggest private bass collection that I've ever seen. This guy has around 600 basses.
Wow.
Wow.
And when we went to his place, I went there. He lives in Hamburg, and he owns like this rock and roll bar, and he has 80 basses everywhere in the walls, like in plexiglass boxes. So it's kind of nicely decorated. And yeah, we did this article on him simply because he said, well, I have a few basses, and we could see that he was finding a lot of these on Reverb. So yeah, I went there, I met him, and he showed me his collection. I was like, wow, I've never seen that many basses in just one place.
And
it's not like
nice bases.
Yeah. This guy had everything from like early 50s Fender basses to a collection of Rickenbackers from different eras. He actually bought one of the first Rickenbackers that were available in Germany back then. This guy has to be in his late 60s now. Amazing. And it's these guys that I'm looking for, because now he was like, yeah, I'm looking for a few things, but I also need to get rid of some stuff because my wife is looking at me in a weird way every time a package arrives. So I said, yeah, let's set something up. If you want to get rid of a few things, let's just set this up for you. And he's selling pretty well, because obviously the stuff that he has some of the stuff is highly searched after. So yeah, so that's basically what I'm doing, finding opportunities to grow Reverb's business on this side of the Atlantic, or in my territory. I obviously have colleagues that are responsible for the UK, responsible for France, and for some of the other territories like Italy, Spain, etc.
Now, I saw recently, and maybe I'm wrong, but is there like Reverb in like Saudi Arabia or in some of these other countries? I thought I saw something for sale that was from like some really random country that I was like, really, Reverb's out there? But maybe I would.
Yeah, it's so we are present as a marketplace in I guess over 90 countries right now, and we also have sellers and buyers from countries like Oman, Saudi Arabia, like countries where you wouldn't expect it.
Right.
But but there is I'm not so sure about sellers really, because I don't think that there's that much retail going on, but there is a huge buyer base for sure. I think I actually sold. Yeah, I think I sold an effects pedal once to not to Saudi Arabia. Was it Dubai? Yeah. So one of the things that I personally sold on Reverb went to Dubai, which took a lot of time. I think it took like 3 weeks to get there, but it arrived safe, and the buyer was happy. So.
And they paid for the shipping, I imagine.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Although I've been guilty of this myself. I sell something either on Reverb or I sell it on eBay or wherever, and I underestimate the shipping charges, and then I get screwed.
Really?
Oh, I've had that happen with a guitar, and just or an amp. I'm just like, all right, whatever, just fuck it. Like I said, it was.
Yeah,
gonna be,
I know.
I said it was going to be $60, and it ends up costing me $110 to send something to somebody, and I'm like, shipping charges are crazy these days. You really have to be.
They keep going up.
They do. I know.
It depends a little bit on where you are exactly. I mean, first of all, we are actually working on a solution for that. So we want to incorporate shipping labels at some point to make it easier for people, so they're not in the hassle of like, oh, now I got to find what this thing costs if I ship it to XYZ. I don't know. So we're working on a solution for that. But if you look just in Europe, so I think in Germany and with DHL and their network, so I can ship a guitar to anywhere in the EU for 21 euros, which is roughly like, I don't know, $26 more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
So,
the shipping across the EU is much cheaper than in the US. From what I understand, at least. Yeah, I mean, to ship that guitar via FedEx here, FedEx ground here, I mean, that would be probably a $47 shipment.
And that's if you have an account.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like if I go to a FedEx Kinko's and I want to send out a guitar that's in a nice size box, and I've done that before, and it can come out to like almost $80 or more.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Yeah, but you can it's really easy to get an account. All you need is a credit card. You go on the FedEx thing, you get your own account, you print your own shipping label, and you just drop it off, or even have them up from you.
Yeah.
Well, I should do that.
It's a little bit in Europe. It's a little bit different. So, if I ship something from Germany to another place, even to outside the EU, the shipping charges are pretty decent actually. If I compare that, the same guitar, if I want to send it from Italy, for example, to somewhere inside the EU, this could be 50. So it could be double the price because the Italian post is not fully connected with the DHL network, and they have their own prices, etc., etc. It's also pretty expensive to ship from France if you don't have a good deal with one of the carriers. So these are some of the challenges of helping people to sell and buy stuff over here on this side, and then coming up with a solution that would eliminate the hassle of going to check DHL, going to check UPS, what's the what works. That's kind of a focus for 2020 for sure.
Oh yeah, well, that's good.
Oh, that'd be great if you get integrated.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Even for the States, for some way to have that integrated into the software, to give you the best price, or some way. Going into the chat, I just want to recognize Cheddar Kung Pao. Cheddar, you're a good dude. Thanks for the super chat. He has a question. Any hints about new Friedman stuff at NAMM? Looking forward to meeting you, Mark. Thanks, Dave.
Sure. Here's what I can tell you. One is black, one is silver, one is red, and one is small. There you go.
Well, I think
your hints.
I think I know what the one is red is, but I'm just guessing. You haven't told me shit.
We'll see. So. We'll see if red happens.
Okay. So yeah,
but it sounded great. It was like I felt like in a Batman movie with the Riddler going, one is black, one is.
I saw when Cheddar posted that, and I'm like going, I know what I'm going to say.
That's funny.
Yeah.
By the way, Cheddar, reach out to me on Facebook if you can. Send me your address. I'm going to send you a Tone Talks t-shirt. Okay? Thanks, man. If you hear me.
He'll be at NAM.
That's true. I'll bring you one. Whatever. Just send me your address. It's probably easier that way. So why don't we take a step back, Frank? I'd love to hear the story of Reverb, if you could tell us.
Sure.
I'm not sure if everybody knows how Reverb started, because, look, I was one of those guys. I was on eBay for years selling stuff, and I hated it, right? And then one day I woke up and someone said to me, "Have you ever heard about Reverb? And, it's only 3.5% and blah, blah, blah." I was like, and it's only gear related. I was like, like, are you serious? So I love it. So if you could just tell the story, I'd love to hear it.
Sure. The guy who founded Reverb, David Called, he was pretty much in the same situation as you. He, back in 2012 or 13, he bought Chicago Music Exchange. And he also wanted to be represented online. He wanted to sell and maybe even buy stuff online, and he was just very frustrated with the experience that he had on eBay. The fees were way too high. The whole thing was not constructed, not designed with musicians in mind, and especially not with gear in mind. So he said, I gotta start my own thing. I gotta start something that fixes that, because what's the alternative, or what was the alternative back then, was Craigslist, and that's even more horrible. I mean, I'm not an expert on Craigslist, but we have an equivalent here, and it sucks. So
it's horrible. I mean, it's scary. It's the whole. I always wonder if I'm going to go home after a Craigslist. Event. So anyway,
that sounds great.
Yeah, you're always scared. Yeah.
One thing, Craigslist. Never sold one thing. I've always stayed away from it. I always look at it, but I stayed away from it.
Yeah, that's
sold tons of stuff on eBay over the years.
Yeah,
I've yet to sell something on Reverb though. So
really,
and I got a whole list of things to sell too. So Frank, I'm gonna be hitting you up.
Yeah, sure. Just hit me up. No worries. So that's what he did in 2013. He started Reverb with a really small team, and these guys had to do everything. They had to try to reach out to private individuals to get them to, hey, try out Reverb. They were also trying, obviously, to get like the small, like family-driven retailers and stores on board, but it took them some time. It took them some time. Like everything, if you want to start something new that nobody has ever heard about, then it takes some time. But eventually, over the years, it would grow, and then at some point, a couple of people also loved the idea and believed in it, and that's how they gathered investors to make the site bigger and to add more features, etc., etc. And and at some point, I think that was kind of a funny and crucial moment. At some point, eBay lowered their fees in the US for vintage instruments to 3.5%, which was like, okay, guys, now you made it. If eBay backs down or tries to match you, then that means something. And and since 2016, they've extended that. Extended the marketplace to the UK, to France, and then afterwards to Germany. Translated the site to give users the same experience, or at least try. I mean, there's always going to be a different experience on the US side because it's so much more advanced than it is in Europe. But yeah, we're doing our best to, speak the same language, get the tone right, so that in the end it's one community and everybody has the same great experience. Whether you're in Germany, you're in Italy, you're in France, or in the US, or Canada, or wherever you are.
You see the thing.
So that's like the story, the story short. Obviously, there's more details to it. I could tell you that one of the biggest investors of Silicon Valley was part of the investors that believed in the idea. Brad Paisley was one of them. There are a couple of prominent guys that, and if somebody like that invests into a company, it normally creates a wave, and people are like, "Oh, what is this company about?" And then it's good PR, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think, the amazing thing was, he owned Chicago Music Exchange, right? And he could have just branched off and just made it a Chicago Music Exchange app, or, he really had a bigger vision than just Chicago Music Exchange, right? It was like,
right.
This is for the entire music industry, as opposed to how do I build my brand of Chicago Music Exchange and make that bigger. Like, if that, I commend him for thinking that broad, because it really worked really well. Does he still have a stake? Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
That's okay. The thing that I enjoy most about Reverb is being able to search for things by era, category, and era. Boy, that gets you in trouble. Oh, what's on here today? Oh, what's that? Click.
Yeah, man. I hear you. I think it's one of the scariest features, because if you really search for something very specific, and it's something that has been manufactured in the 60s, I get that. And then the other thing is that obviously you can personalize a lot of things to your. If you're searching for something and you don't find it, you can save that search, and if something pops up, you get an email. And I have a lot of these Japanese stores like TC Gaki, and like these huge, that they have these huge inventory counts on guitars and everything. It's like everything is secondhand. The prices are extremely well, and my daily feed is like, oh, here's something new from TC Gaki. Oh, I'm like, must resist. It's
must not buy. Please no.
Well,
and sometimes you see it and you just go, oh, damn it, click.
Yeah. So you bought on there, but you just haven't sold, Dave.
Yeah, I haven't sold. I've bought all sorts of stuff on there. Yeah, I got a high watt PA head I'm sitting on over here.
Oh wow!
Bunch of pedals. I don't remember everything. I've got some stuff, pickups, all sorts of stuff. I always look there first.
Right. Yeah.
If I'm looking for something, I'll look there first, and if they have it at the right price, then I'll buy it. Sometimes I'll go other places and buy it. It just depends on who has it and what's the price.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny.
But I love the aesthetic of Reverb. The like even the NAMM booths and stuff. It's just they make it look so cool with all the old equipment, and it makes you want to drool. So.
I agree. I love it. I was obviously, because I'm a lefty, that's like the main search that I've got on there, right? So or lefty Kramer, lefty, this, lefty that, and I anything that pops up occasionally, I'll be like, oh my god, oh, why did that sell today, or why did that be listed?
Yeah, that's the so I think I did that for at least 3 months, that I focused purely on guys who have lots of left-hand gear, because
Oh, wow.
I figured out that the moment I would find the guy, and then we would, he would start the list. A day, 2 days, maximum 3 days later, most of his left-hand stuff was gone, because so many people have their feed set up to like left-hand, and then even sometimes not even specific to a model, just like what's out there,
Mm-hmm.
and that stuff would sell like right away. So yeah, I hear you absolutely.
Yeah, and the other feature that I really like about it also, I don't know if you've seen this, Dave, is they have a local button now. You can search for local sales
Oh yeah.
around you, which is cool. Most of the time, people selling it around here, it's just a bunch of shit. But
Man, I don't need to buy anything else.
I know it's a
I
sickness.
do not. In fact, I should have a massive sale. Is what I should do.
Sure, we can make that happen.
So I mean, yeah, I'm sure we can. We could do something cool probably, but
A Friedman sale.
I just bins and bins of pedals and things that I've acquired over the years that primarily sit.
Do you have like
Okay.
prototypes, Dave? Like prototypes of like the
No,
BEOD? Or...
no, nothing like that. But just stuff I've collected personally over the years, and guitars, and that frankly I just don't need to have. I mean, I look at things, I go, do I need that? No. I like it. Do I really need it? Have I touched it? When's the last time I touched it? That's the key.
Right.
If the answer is like, well, I touched it 3 years ago, you're kind of like, yeah, okay, I should sell that.
Yeah. Well, that's true. All my guitars and gear, I usually try to rotate. I'm like,
Right.
I'm going to play this guitar this week because I haven't played it in a while. I don't know. I don't know if other people do that, but
yeah, I used to have a rule of thumb that if I didn't touch a guitar for at least 1 year, it needs to go, because apparently it doesn't, it's not attractive anymore. So that was a rule of thumb, and it served me quite well. But also, I don't know, I haven't sold that much. I've been circling around with pedals lately, changing my setup there, but yeah, guitars, not that much, not much. I like them all, most of them.
yeah, there's only a couple here and there. I'm pretty much down to, like what I want, and just like you, Dave, I don't need to be buying any more gear, but it's a sickness, and that's why they created Reverb. Right?
It's fun. It makes you happy for a while, then it sits on the wall for years. I mean, oh God, I'm looking up at the wall.
Well, since we've been doing this show, you've been talking about selling a couple of your guitars.
Yeah, because I just don't need them all. I mean, there's ones I want to keep, but yeah. Someone asked, how much do you actually play? And it's like testing amps. But unfortunately, that's every day. So there's a lot of testing.
It's an essential tool, It's an essential tool, and I guess you wanna test your amps with maybe a guitar that has single coils, a guitar that has humbuckers, another type of guitar. So
yeah, exactly, and I have all that. The guitars I'm going to keep are the ones that are different. So like here's the Telly, and here's the the hot rodded Strat, and here's the vintage Strat style, and
Right.
Have you found now that you make guitars, Dave, that the older stuff that you had, you're like more likely to sell that and keep the newer stuff that you have, or no?
Yeah. Now we make guitars, so it's like, I'm gonna either pick one out that I really like, or make one I want, how I want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
But there's still a couple other guitars that I keep just because. I mean, I have a couple Fender road worn Strats that I like, and just a few things, you know. I have a Bernie Les Paul that I love.
Oh,
Are they good?
A black. Yeah, they're great. Oh, the older ones. So the old ones from, you know, the late 70s, early 80s, that era. Really, really, really good guitars. In fact, I'm not really a Les Paul guy. I've always been more of a Strat kind of guy. And this sounds better than most Les Pauls I have tried. This particular guitar.
That's cool.
Yeah.
By the way, your internet.
It's a whole $600.
Wow. Well, that's.
They go for more now, but.
Yeah. Well, I see occasionally. I'll see a Bernie for sale. What about Grecos? Those are pretty bad, though,
That's
right?
cool. No. Old Grecos are cool.
Really?
yeah, they are definitely.
Yeah. The old ones are very cool.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I've seen a few lefty Grecos, and I'm like, I'm gonna stay away from that. But maybe next time.
As long as it's from the like 80s, early 80s, or you know, late 70s, around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get a good guitar.
That's cool.
And be sure to ask for the weight, because there are huge differences between each when it comes to the weight. I've had some that were so heavy, I was like, no, this thing is not going around my shoulder ever.
Yeah. I had a custom that was like weighed like 10 pounds or more, 11 pounds. It was just like ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. It was a boat anchor.
No, this is too much, even for somebody who maybe is like, a hefty guy, somebody who works out. At some point you're just gonna notice that pain in your lower back.
Yeah.
It's just because of the way that you stand with the guitar. These guitars are not ergonomic, and even ergonomic guitars are not going to prevent you from maybe going into a stupid body posture. And if you do that with a 10 pound, that's like 5 kilos something. No, no way. Never.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I remember when I bought my Les Paul, it was weight relieved. I bought that back in 2005. I actually have a guitar still from 2005, Dave. Haven't sold it. Yeah, so, but that was weight relieved, and that's like 8.5 pounds, 8 pounds or whatever. I mean, Les Pauls are notoriously heavy anyway, so. But.
Yeah, that's true.
But, so let's talk about, this is a good question from Unfucking Believable. That's his.
That's his name?
Yeah, Unfucking Believable. Yeah, that's what.
You can have that name. That's awesome.
All right, you know what? You win. You win for the name.
Frank's
You
best
win.
finds.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. It took me a second to like make it out. Frank's best finds, I assume from for Reverb, or some of the things that you found for Reverb, maybe.
Best finds. Does he mean like specific items, or like sellers, or?
Well, let's go with both. How about for you,
With
like
both.
the best seller you've found, and then like maybe the best thing that you've gotten off of Reverb that you bought.
So, okay. So as far as best sellers go, there I found a super small store about 2 hours away from here. A guy that also didn't have any kind of window to the internet, to no sales channel at all. And this guy, I know he had like 100 guitars floating around in that store, and this thing was an absolute gold mine, because everything that I see people looking for, or I saw people looking for at that time, was in that store. So I helped him get everything on. This guy is called Rare Guitar. So that's it's a guitar store, but also attached to it is a small club to play live shows. And I think very early in his career, Bonamassa played in that shop, and he still goes there to flip pedals, buy and sell stuff and whatnot. So yeah, Rare Guitar in Münster. That's the name of the city. This guy is really cool. And then there's another guy who has awesome stuff. For the most part goes for the old Japanese stuff, and old German vintage guitars. So all these like jazz boxes and whatnot. This guy's called The Old Europe. That's definitely a recommendation. Let's see who else. Then that's kind of an odd one, but it's fun. So I found this guy who he sells guitars, he sells acoustic guitars, but his main business is accordions. And he was super interested. And I said, let's give it a try. I didn't see that we would sell accordions in huge numbers, but so he got everything. So we have a couple of integrations. So if somebody, for example, has a Magento online shop system, we have a plugin to integrate him. That means less manual work, and he can just sync his inventory, his all the orders. So it's just an easier way to port over to Reverb. We brought over his entire inventory and also all the accordions, and now he's selling 1 to 2 accordions a week to the US.
Wow.
Really?
Go figure. Yeah, it's so in the end that was a total win, because he has good inventory, and if we make it visible, then he's going to sell it. That's just how it works. Yeah, so that was a good one. And as far as, let me think, I bought a Kiesel headless guitar last year. I bought a Kiesel headless guitar from Malta, which I still love. I still have it. But the odd thing was that the guy didn't know it was a baritone scale. And obviously, because he didn't know, he didn't mention it. So I get this guitar, and I'm like, well, this feels weird. Because it was tuned down to like drop A or something, with huge strings. And I was like, okay, that feels odd. And I was like, okay, let's measure it. And yeah, okay, 27-inch. And I wrote the guy, and I'm like, dude, you sent me a baritone guitar. Why did you say it's baritone guitar? And he said, I never noticed. I just bought this. I bought this guitar. It felt fine. Turns out the guy is like almost 2 meters high and has like bigger hands than Steve Vai, most likely. So obviously for him, it was like, well, it's a mandolin. No worries.
Right.
Yeah. So
So he gave you a good deal on it, or?
yeah, we settled for a slight refund, because I mean I still have the guitar, but it's like the lesser used guitars. It's like, when do you need a baritone?
Yeah.
When do you need a baritone headless?
Right. That's an unusual sale. My best find on Reverb, I think, was I found a couple, but my best find, I think, that I'm most happy about was I found that 86 Kramer Beretta.
Oh yeah.
And that
Right.
actually came with the papers, the tag, and everything, and it was sold on Christmas
No.
Eve in 1986, 12/24/86.
Wow.
In Canada. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's got the papers, the matching serial number with the guitar. I was like, okay, that's a gem for me at least. So I was happy with that.
And the condition was what, like still mint or pretty good, or?
I'd say it's, very good. Very good condition.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, not mint or anything like that. But, it's got some dings and some fret wear. It could use a little bit of fret work. But it's still very playable and still great. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm happy with it. So, what about you, Dave? Any good finds on Reverb? Anything particular that stands out? Like the high watt, I know you mentioned.
Well, I really like my high watt PA head. I just saw it on there and it was like, oh, I gotta have that. I don't know if it was necessarily a great deal or not, but it was a fair price, and it was. But that's the one I like. When I see it, it just makes me happy. It just looks cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I really love Reverb. I think it's a great place to. First of all, it's a great alternative to everything else that you can go find stuff. And but did it originally start out as vintage gear or everything?
Vintage and secondhand, obviously. Vintage and used was how it started out originally, and then at some point, obviously, smaller shops used it as an additional sales channel, and it definitely makes sense because in the US we have kind of a similar market situation than we have in Europe. You have a couple of big guys that are like fighting the battle over the highest revenue, and then you have hundreds and hundreds and if not thousands of small shops that are somehow trying to survive. But these guys are not visible. These guys are not visible at all. If I'm in that's actually a funny example because I tried it once. If I'm in Barcelona in Spain and I go to Google and I type in Fender Stratocaster, the first thing I see is Topman. Although, about 10 minutes away from the place I'm staying, there's an amazing guitar shop that has all that stuff that Topman has. But I don't see him. I don't see him. I need to know he's there. If I'm just some random guy looking over the internet, I won't find him. And then, I don't know, 10 kilometers up north from Barcelona, I have an even bigger store that has even more stuff and matches even more what Tolman's inventory is. But I don't see him. It's all about visibility, and that's what we're good at. That's what we're good at, to make the stuff visible and be kind of try to be a counterweight to these big guys that have all the money, all the resources, can put millions and millions and millions into Google and ads and whatnot. So
yeah, it helps kind of raise all boats for everybody, so everybody can compete at least to some degree with the big boys.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not against the big boys. If I look at what Tolman built for himself, you gotta just pop the hat, and say, okay, I respect that, because he built this thing from a small store that was inside a village to a multi-million-dollar business. They say that at the end of this year, he's going to break the revenue billion. And he's in the clear. He's not in debt. He doesn't owe anything to anyone.
Right.
He's
well, that reminds me of the story, which I should say you guys should check out Sweetwater.com, as they're one of the sponsors of our show. But that's another amazing success story, right?
Right.
I don't know the name of the guy who started it.
They were just Forbes.
Were they? Sweetwater?
Forbes on the Sweetwater. And essentially how they I didn't totally read it all, but essentially how they built their business on customer service. which is true. That's what they do, and they do it very well. And I think they said they were an $800 million last year.
Amazing.
So they're approaching that billion mark too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And that's another company that's not in debt.
No.
Yeah. That's the thing. People over here perceive Sweetwater as like the U.S. version of Thomann, because just of the level of customer service and customer engagement that they have. You know, it's kind of the same concept, and also like one location, you know, and primarily focusing on mail order. You know, like shipping stuff out. I mean, Thomann still has a physical store, but it's in the middle of nowhere. You know, it's if you want to go there, you know what I'm talking about, Dave.
Yes, I've been there. You're in the middle of nowhere. It's in a village.
Yeah.
Really?
It is.
Oh yeah,
so
you're not gonna go there. No.
Well,
Then if you stay there, you're staying in Bamberg.
Yeah.
And which I love Bamberg.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful city.
It's a beautiful little city. Yeah. I tell you though, walking on cobblestone streets though when you're drunk is not so good. You can hurt yourself.
Yeah, I cannot recommend it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I actually that reminds me of I stayed in Germany. I was in Munich.
Yeah.
And we went to some very like off the beaten path little pub, and we all got hammered. Yes, I even got hammered, Dave. I drank with my and when we got out, I have some pictures of it where it was like this cobblestone road, and walking back to the hotel was fun.
Yeah. You know, that stuff hurts. That stuff like hurts your knees. I mean, forget about being drunk or not, but the just walking on that for an extended period of time because it's uneven and your foot's stepping weird, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just old, but it starts to hurt your knees.
It's if you're not used to it, you're most likely going to hurt yourself to some extent, especially if you're walking for hours and hours. And I mean, we have a lot of places with cobblestone, so
yeah, sure.
The old
and what always amazed me is in like Bamberg, you look at the buildings that have been there since, oh my God, so old, and they're crooked.
Yeah.
You look at the front of the building and it literally is leaning to the right or left or forward even.
Yeah.
You're like looking at it going, do I want to go in there? I guess it's been standing this long.
Right, it's relatively safe.
Yeah, it's true. So I just came back from Amsterdam because we have our main office for Europe in Amsterdam, and it's a beautiful city, but they have the same thing. So sometimes you go along like the other channels, and then you see some of the houses that just look so weird, and you think, would I want to live there? And you see people perfectly happy inside because apparently the Dutch folk, they're like super happy to share. You know, there's a window, like no curtains. You can see a family eating on the table, and you're like, okay, you don't want your privacy? That's fine. Let's look how people dine.
Right, or other things that they're doing.
Yeah,
that's funny. That's really funny. I'm gonna go to the chat because we have a question from the super chat. If I can find it. Dave, I'm considering, this is from Modern Vintage. Dave, I'm considering a PRS JMod 100, John Mayer's amp. Any experience or thoughts on it? It's said to be a clone and improvement on Mayer's best Dumble.
To be honest, I don't know anything about it. Never played it. I mean, I know of it. That's about it. That's all I know. I know it's expensive.
Oh yeah,
It's very expensive.
it's like 6K, right?
Or more.
Or more, yeah, I thought. So I can't answer that question. Sorry.
So, but if as far as I'm aware, I mean, Mayer is playing what a steel singer, right? The Dumble steel stringer.
That's one of them that I said.
I think he had steel
string singer.
Singer. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
but they're different, right?
But he has many amps, so who knows? Who knows what this is modeled after?
Yeah. I mean,
try to ask John Mayer.
Yeah, he should know. You can approach him on Instagram, where he's hanging out very much and playing guitar in his kitchen. It's although, I mean, if you want an amp like this, just get an SW50 from Morgan. That's something that I thought was very close to a Dumble that I have heard once for like 5 minutes during a sound check. And that was very close to that steel stringer Dumble amp.
And which model was that, Morgan? SW?
The SW50 or SW50R. And the story behind it, as well, that's what I know. What I saw is that at some point some guy came in to Joe Morgan's workshop and said, "I bought this amp, but I think something's not right with it," and it was a Dumble. And so he fixed the things that need to be fixed, but also was able to kind of, check a little bit out what the circuitry looks like, and then started to build something that's similar without the quirks that the original had. That which then became the SW50 or SW50R.
Weird name.
Yeah, wasn't it like that? Joe always uses the initials of the customer that came in with that specific amp whenever he had a new one. So SW might be
something like that. Yeah, I don't know. We could ask Joe, but he's probably playing video game.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's his video game night.
Yeah, there's a new version of Fortnite or Halo or something.
Holy shit! Yeah, I still found it. I still found this show to be like extremely entertaining.
Yeah, I have to.
Someone found it entertaining.
I have to go back and rewatch that one.
Yeah, you should. It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
because he's so focused.
You rewatch shows?
I've rewatched a few shows here and there.
I've never looked back.
No.
I'm too scared.
Wow.
Really? You've never gone back and looked at one show?
No.
Wow.
But I'm like that. I'm not the guy that takes the picture. I'm not the guy that will watch the movie twice. I'll see it once and that's it. So I lived it once.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, living in the moment.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to see a couple of those.
Okay. Here's a question.
Especially the Jakey Lee one.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I know that was a rough one. Did you see that one, Frank?
No, I think I haven't gotten to that one yet.
Oh man.
Yeah, the Jakey Lee one is. Yeah.
That's for the first hour and a half or so, or 2 hours, we're relatively together, and then after drinking, a whole bottle of scotch, it goes really down. It goes downhill fast.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it gets funny. It gets real funny. Yeah, and I'm like the straight man the whole time, which is really. I wasn't drinking.
That had to be frustrating.
It got rough towards the end. It definitely was.
There is some epic moments in that one though.
Yeah, there
really, really good moments.
And
I'm gonna make sure to check that out.
I love when you say to Jake, you're like, "You ever hear of Pete Thorne?" He's like, you're like, he's a really good player, and he's like, "No, what's his problem?" You're like, "You don't have a problem." Jake was so defensive. It was just like, "No, who's that guy?" He's a funny dude.
Or when Amir Durak is texting me to say hi to Jake.
Oh,
and by the way, Amir says hi or something like that. I don't even remember what I said exactly. He goes, "Wait, what? Now?" Yeah, he's right on my phone now.
Yeah, he's funny, man.
Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna make sure to check that out.
Yeah, you
That
might have to
sounds-
watch it in pieces.
And then where towards the end, I'm starting to repeat the same questions I asked earlier. So just slurring them more.
And then Jake's like, "I think we already answered that one."
Oh, but he had himself together that he still remembered that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he had, yeah, but yeah, I guess he was more of a pro than I was.
He held it together. He wasn't. Yeah, you were a bit worse for the wear than he was.
Yeah,
But
yeah, but he drank just as much.
he did. But you started earlier though. Remember, you were at the bar waiting.
I'm sure so did he.
Oh, did you? Oh, did he? Okay. All right. That's probably true. All right, so we got a question from Dust Devil. He says, "Hey, Tone Talk, have you tried inviting Lee Jackson of Metaltronics to be on your show?" Yes, I have. I have. He wrote me back, and I'll be seeing him at NAMM, and Lee will be on in 2020.
Oh, you finally got in touch with him.
I did. I forgot to tell you.
Ah,
So
cool.
he sent me his email address and said to get in touch with him. I just haven't emailed him back yet, but I will.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having him on.
Yeah, Unfucking Unbelievable here said the Jake Helio episode scares me. Glad we could be of service.
Riza.
That sounds.
I'm sorry, Frank. What did you say?
That sounds good. Tone Talk, scaring you since.
Yeah. Since episode 42.
Marketing right there. Yeah, but we got people going, see, the Jake Lee episode was the best. Thanks, Dennis Cameron.
There are a lot of people. Most people.
Actually, I get a lot of people that message me and going, "That was the best one ever."
Yeah.
I'm like, good. That's good. It wasn't that good later that evening for me.
People like a train wreck, I guess. I don't know.
Well, we went out after that. We went to dinner after that.
I know you went out after that. Yeah, you guys went. Drinking.
Oh yeah. And then I made the mistake of ordering whatever he was having, and Jake had ordered absinthe.
Ouch.
I've never even had that before.
I topped my bottle, half a bottle of scotch off with 3 absinthe drinks.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that was a grave error on my part.
Yeah, and I mean it's. I don't know what kind of absinthe they are serving in the U.S., but I once had the real stuff in the Czech Republic. So around 2006, 2007, I was part of a like modern metal band that had a record deal with a medium-sized metal-focused label here in Europe, and we went like between 2006 and 2007. We basically spent almost every weekend on the road and had a couple of longer tours around Europe as well. And one of those was in a club in the Czech Republic, in the town where the original Budweiser beer comes from, Budvar.
Oh, see, now that's not like Budweiser in the U.S.
Exactly.
Not like Budweiser in the U.S.
Exactly. And so the owner of the club was kind of a weird dude that had his office like up like over like on top of the club. He just built it on the roof. I don't know if he had a permission or something. Just did it. Full of like ninja swords and all kind of, looked like a museum. And then he invited the two bands that we were up to drink absinthe, but the real stuff, the stuff that not only gets you drunk and also makes you high.
Wow.
I had the worst night in that bed bunk in the bus and the nightliner because going over Czech highways and with that kind of in that kind of state. Not
that just shake you up real good, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know how many hours I slept, but not more than two. Definitely not.
What does absinthe taste like? I've never had it. So
it's like anise. It tastes like anise, pretty much.
Black licorice.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I see. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Black licorice, but you start when you start tasting different brands and different kinds, they're very different. It's like really good ones are unbelievable and really bad ones are unbelievably bad.
Yeah.
But there's a sort of some of them are very creamy and really like nice, and also the way you drink it. So if you have it's hard to explain with the whole contraption with the sugar cube and it drips onto the sugar cube, which drips into the absinthe, and it's hard to explain unless you've seen it. But
it's a funny ritual, that's for sure.
I have a bar that's literally that's at the end of my street that serves absinthe with the whole thing with the sugar cubes and everything. They'll do it, and it's kind of fun. It's fun to do. It's fun to just watch. The ritual of it is cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to try it one day. I've never had it. Interesting.
It's good. It'll mess you up though.
Be sure to eat something decent before, so you don't like fall out of your shoes.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So we got Reza in the chat. Is that how you say his name, Dave? Reza?
Yeah. Reza?
Okay.
Reza?
He says,
Reza?
Reverb is pretty amazing, he says. I have broken even and played a lot of rad amps and sent them on their way to happy people just spreading gear joy.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, he flips stuff on there on Reverb all the time.
Yeah, we have a lot of these guys that actually create a pretty decent side business by flipping gear, by buying it from somewhere and then reselling it for a higher value because they just know how different markets work, how how to source the right gear, and that it's amazing. So there are a couple of guys from Amsterdam that we were pretty close with, and these guys have regular day jobs in an office, and then at 5:00 they go to the little space that they had rented, which was full of like hundreds of pedals, and they made a decent side income of like 30 to 40K a month just by flipping pedals. It was pretty amazing. And they had a pretty good workflow as well. So one of them would have like a holder for his smartphone, like iPhone or something. And he would use the app to take pictures, save this whole thing as a draft. And the other guy would sit at the computer and finish up the drafts and get the stuff live. So they were like working like a clock. Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a great business for a lot of people. It really is.
Yeah.
So we got a question from Cheddar Kung Pao. What's Frank's main rig like? I think I just saw a picture of it. You just posted it, didn't you?
Yeah. So, I have a couple of things, but my main rig at this point is completely on a pedal board. Which is a Blue Guitar Amp 1, Mercury edition. I also have the black one, the Iridium, and then just a couple of pedals. Just this morning, I went to the customs office and got a new pedal. I know. Do you guys know GFI system?
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yeah. So I've been using their Specular Tempest delay and reverb. I really like that thing because of the form factor, the features, and because it just wants 100 milliamps current, which is pretty nice for a device like that. And they just brought out pretty much the same thing but with modulation effects. And so that's on my board. That's currently my main rig. I also have amplifiers that I collected over the years. I have a Diesel VH4 that I really like.
That amp is great.
Yeah, it's a really cool amp. I have a 93 dual rectifier, an old one still, which only has one usable sound. Everything else sounds like shit, but that one usable sound is great. It's just like that. Have you ever tried the clean channel on a dual rectifier from that era?
Oh, it's crap.
It's completely crap.
Yeah,
it sounds like
useless.
Yeah,
absolutely no
lifeless.
You could just leave that out just make it a one channel in your face amp and leave the cleans to something else. Buy another amp. That's kind of my main rig now. I play a couple of Kiesel guitars. I have a pretty nice relationship with these guys. They're doing good stuff. I mean, since they separated from the Carbon brand, it has been really going well for them. So that's pretty much my main rig.
That's cool.
And I've had stuff over the years that went away eventually, and then I get in touch a lot with stuff because of videos that I do. I don't do that many videos as I used to because the work of Reverb is pretty demanding time wise. But I'm not. Then again, I'm not. I don't depend on having a successful YouTube channel like many others do. Many others just need to grow that audience and need to, focus on that and and you can only grow it by constant content, doing a video per day or bi-daily or, and I just can't do that. I don't have the time.
Yeah, neither do I.
For it.
Neither do I.
Yeah, no kidding. Yes.
There's no way I could do a video a day or a week I mean, once every couple weeks is the best that we can do.
Right, exactly.
And
that's just live, not even product. I mean,
and that's hard. I mean, and it's hard. It's like when we first started, weren't we doing it once a week?
We tried. I think we tried.
And then it was like, yeah, let's do 2 a month.
Right.
And then sometimes I think to myself, maybe we should do 1 a month.
It's hard to get guests. That's the thing. It's not easy to always have a constant thing. At least for our show. I mean, for people who are doing reviews of gear pedals and stuff like that, you can always have an endless source of content. But when you're relying on having guests, it's tough.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
When you think about doing 1 show, 1 a month, that means 12 guests a year. So you're like, oh, that's easier. That's a lot easier than 24 guests.
It's true. But it's harder to grow the channel, like you said, Frank. I mean, you can't. That's why these guys are putting out videos every day. I mean, Heading has videos at least every other day.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to buy more camera gear.
Oh my God, this guy is he's so crazy. He's so crazy. I think the first time I actually met him in person and actually went to see his setup, I was still working for Positive Grid, and we wanted to do something with the bias head that came out around that time, and I went to his place and I was like, what the hell? This guy has, I don't know, 25 to 30,000 euros of camera gear and stands and this and all the gimmicks. I was like, wow. And I mean, sure, if you want to bring the quality and the quantity, you need stuff that works, and you need stuff that's reliable, and you need to know how stuff's going to look like beforehand, so that you can have an efficient workflow. It's just, he's thinking like someone who would do a professional production, and that's why he's good at it.
If you ever want to really piss him off, you just go, well, I think I'm just going to film it on an iPhone.
Oh.
Sometimes I wonder if it all matters how it's filmed. If the content is still there, if someone shoots a guerrilla style video with an iPhone and it sounds good and it, sometimes I find a lot of people like that, and because whenever you put a video out, it's always something. It's oh, I wish they hadn't used effects. Oh, I wish they used effects. Oh, I wish they would have used a 57. Oh, I wish they wouldn't have used a 57. I wish there was a room mic. It's just like, and the one that I get the most is I just want to hear what it sounds like in the room.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll shoot them all with an iPhone. You guys. A lot easier for us. And actually now with iPhone 11s, man, you can shoot that in the dark pretty much.
It's true.
And it looks good.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I mean, I kind of think the same way, and even if somebody would do what you just said, it's like somebody uses the mic that everybody wants that he uses, and he uses a room mic, and then additionally he does that, and he checks all the 10 boxes. Then he's eventually going to compress that into YouTube, into a format that is compressed, and where there will be some kind of loss with every kind of compression. So to me it's funny that you have a lot of guys that do all this crazy production, and then it goes to YouTube. I think a lot of these guys do it because it makes them happy. I think it makes Henning happy.
Yeah, of course it does. And I can understand that too.
Yeah.
But when you work, hard on something that comes out, and then someone, there's always someone that's going to be just, it's too dark, it's too bright, it's too this, it's too that. Oh yeah, well, let's hear your video.
Oh, I know.
It's
your video, please.
Yeah. But you're always going to be facing keyboard warriors. That's it's just a fact. Whatever you do, because it's such an easy thing to go ahead under a Unreal fake name and just write something and click the thumbs down button and like, yo, I stick that to the guy, and you're like, no, you didn't, and you didn't show anything. You just only showed how incompetent you are, because you're not doing anything other than sitting in front of your keyboard, hitting buttons, and using your mouse down in your mom's basement.
There's a lot of that. There's definitely a lot of that. Here's an interesting question. Just kind of throw us off a completely different path.
Okay.
Irons 18. Question for all three. What is the most underrated 80s guitar tone?
Oh boy. Underrated.
You know whose tone I really liked? Aldo Nova.
Oh yeah. That was great. Sure.
Yeah.
I guess that would be underrated.
That would be underrated, right?
But
I'm
that
gonna
was
go.
good.
I'm gonna go with Ty Tabor, King's X.
I was thinking that myself.
Yeah.
Which record?
Gretchen Goes to Nebraska and Dogman.
Perfect. That's exactly what I would have said.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that he recorded these albums with a lap series. I think it was an L5.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a tube amp, it was a solid state amp, and it wasn't even, kind of designed for that kind of tones. But he made it, he kind of owned it, and made it his own. Which is fun. I mean, BB King was playing lap series amps, so there you have a reference. King's X, BB King.
That was a great sound and also didn't he use the Fender Elite preamp or something out of the Fender Elite guitar or something? Didn't he have it in a separate box or something?
Yeah,
so some weird thing like that. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, so his he had the Elite Strat, which had the preamps and the active electronics and everything in there. And then at some point he switched to different guitars. I think he was a Yamaha endorser, he was a Zion endorser at some point.
Yeah.
But he obviously didn't want to get that circuitry built out of the Strat and into one of those guitars because he might swap guitars at any time. So what he did was he had a one space rack unit designed where he built in both of those preamps, and then he just used them whenever he needed them, and they were in front of every setup. He had a dual or like a rack rectifier setup at some point. Then he was playing these weird digital Yamaha amps at some point, the ones with the motor pots. And the funny thing is, whatever he played, he always sounds like himself. It's like this guy just has, one of the amazing tones in his fingers. I'm a huge fan of these guys. Actually, these guys were the reason I started taking guitar way more seriously than I did up to that point. So I listened. I heard. Yeah, I think it was the Dogman record. I was like, holy shit! How does the guy sound like this? How is that possible? And I was like, okay, I gotta get into this. I gotta practice more. I gotta play more. I gotta find out how that tone works.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's a great band.
All right. I have to be honest. I have not listened to King's X.
Ever?
Oh, you should.
Ever.
You
really?
should.
I swear, I don't think I've ever heard one song from King's X.
Okay, well, you got to go. You get the Gretchen Goes to Nebraska record,
Okay,
and then the Dogman record.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get them as soon as we get off. I'll
get them.
Yeah, I'll download.
But production-wise, the Dogman record is still a reference to a lot of people when it comes to mixing and mastering. Although it's such an old record. I think it's from '94 or something.
Yeah.
And they were actually one of the first bands to use lower tunings for that type of music. So it was, in a lot of cases, it was well, at least drop D, but then also like drop C, drop C flat and stuff like that. For some of the songs, they really tuned down 2 or 3 half steps.
Yeah, that's certainly unusual back then.
Yeah,
that's cool. I'll have to check them out. Always into new music. Love it. New old music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite 100%. Old.
Yeah. Here's a good question. I'm curious about this too. I think we talked about it with James Brown when he was on, but Cecil Music says, Dave, are the PV VTMs any good in your opinion? Are the little dip switches gimmicky, or do they really work?
I have one sitting on my shelf over here, which I bought on a whim because it was cheap. The PV VTM essentially was, they started off with the Butcher amp, that they had, which was kind of a JCM 800. And then they had their hands in Mark Ferrari's Jose mod. And they incorporated, if you set the dip switches just right and know what you're doing, it's almost a Jose mod, like verbatim almost. But you got to know what switches to switch, and really, I don't even know I have to look every time I want to set it up right. But I think that it has a little more low end than would be there normally, though, too. So, I mean, a couple tweaks and it would be pretty perfect. The loop's kind of crappy, but in it. But at least, though, they made the head box indestructible on those things. If you ever look at those, they're super thick, and I think they're made of. It feels like they're made of rock. The head box itself is heavier than the actual amplifier.
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Literally the box. I have it empty sitting over here because the amp's on the shelf, and literally you pick it up and you're like, I can't believe it. The amp's lighter.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you could have dumped that out of back of a truck on a freeway and it would just tumble down the road. It'd be fine.
Yeah, they built stuff like tanks. They did.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, which is so different from today, right? I have the impression that everything is becoming lighter and smaller and whatnot, and people, apparently like to buy like mini versions of established amp models. So yeah, I don't know, but what do you guys think? I've been pondering on that question, especially in the past days, because of a conversation I had. What do you think is the future of tube amps, especially the ones with big transformers in them and lots of tubes?
Well, I mean, I think it seems, although modeling had made a dent, it almost seems like some people are getting rid of their modelers now and going back to an amp.
Yeah.
At least I'm seeing a trend that's a little bit. I mean, there's still a lot of modelers out there, but I see a trend sort of starting to happen. And recently I was at a festival show, rock festival show that I was working at, and I looked around, and there, at least on the main stage with all the bands, there was not one modeler anywhere. It was all amps. And I'm like, oh wow, look at this! Not one. At least on that day.
Yeah,
that's great.
I was like, this is great.
But smaller amps are selling, though. I mean, you sold that JJ Junior like hotcakes, right? Sure.
Yeah, they're still selling, still back ordered.
Wow.
Yeah, people want, but we kind of broke the mold. There's a lot of companies that don't sell 100-watt amps anymore, but we do. We sell a lot of them. And,
which is amazing.
And I think we're the only company selling them.
I get the same impression. Yeah.
And so, some people said, "Oh, you'll never sell the 100-watt amps." Oh, yeah, well,
watch me.
Watch us. And a lot of people, even though our master volumes are really good, so when it's down low, it still sounds good. So you can play it in a bedroom, and it's still a 100-watt amp. But there is a certain beefiness to the power section, that
there you go.
That is just, it sounds bigger. It's a little bit more heft and weight to it, even down low.
Yeah, it's true, 100%. Yeah, it's kind of fun. I kind of watched the same thing happening that you described with any kind of modeling devices, especially the guys that got themselves a Kemper or an Axe-FX or something like that. So these guys, at some point, they go into a guitar store because they need strings or some other kind of shit. And then they walk by one of the amp testing rooms and they're like, oh, that sounds great. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to check out what's going on there. And then they see some guy like pushing a 5150 or something like that.
Mhm.
And then he's like, oh yeah, I have that. I'm using that thing in my XFX. And then they go in there and they check it out themselves and we're like,
Oh no.
oh, so that's how that sounds in the real life, in the real world. And then, yeah, this kind of process starts to happen. And they go like, maybe, just because it feels better and there's more beef to it,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go and try a real amp. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I've had that happen a lot. People use modelers for a while, and they're like, yeah, they think they're getting a really good sound, and then they try, just like you said, they try the real thing, and they're like, oh. I've had them come in here with it, and they're using my model in whatever, and they just A/B, and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, when you compare the two together, yeah, it's no comparison.
Yeah, it normally applies to especially the younger generation. So there's an entire generation of guitar players that have never ever played a real amplifier because the stuff was just there, and they considered it normal to have like some kind of a floorboard or some rack kind of thing going on, or some of them have even never played some kind of hardware because all the plugins that are out there with all these different amps, some of them are even free. So why would you, if you just play at home and you have a decent setup and computer, which most people have, why bother buying an amp if you're just playing at home? But then they see.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And then they're happy with it, and then they go into a store, they check out the real thing, and then they're like, oh wow, that's how that sounds like. And then they also, some of them, I've seen it with some of them, and from my time in retail, that they're like, I don't play the same over a real amp. I feel like my abilities just decreased by 30%, which has to do with, well, the not necessarily the conversion, but to me, there's always that kind of compression that applies to these things. I don't know if it has to do with bringing the level up sufficiently. I'm not sure. I've noticed that with the XFX the most, especially still with the XFX 2. I was like, okay, that feels weird. It feels like there's some kind of compression applied. Maybe it was just me. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And then if you really want to scare a kid, try to plug them into a like an old Plexi Marshall.
Brutal.
Turn it up for them,
and then try to control it.
Now try to play. Then your abilities just went down the tube more.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole nother way of playing, and and you have to control the wild beast,
Yeah.
But also I never kind of understood, you were saying you're playing metal bands and stuff, and there's a certain, with a live cabinet that's at a decent volume, meaning like pushing some air, you just get it's brutal. So it has this brutal sound, and that inspires you as a musician to play a different way or be more aggressive in how it's reacting. And I never quite understood the concept of metal done with all in-ears with modelers.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, because you're not getting, with an amp, if you hit it light, it's kind of light, and if you smack it, it barks at you, and that's the aggression of metal, isn't it? I mean, or it used to be,
right?
And so I don't think I wouldn't be very happy. It's not that a modeler can't sound decent or it can't sound good, but I wouldn't be happy. I mean, but maybe that's because I've always played amps.
It's I think especially with metal, it's a convenience thing. So I've been playing in a couple of metal bands or stepping in for a few guys as well over the years, replacing guitar players on tours, etc., etc. And and a few of them also played through some kind of modeling device, and then they had in-ears, and there was like no stage monitor and nothing. And every time there was a stage monitor, and although I had in-ears, I wanted to get a feedback from the stage monitor because there is something happening. Yeah. I'm not even talking about string feedback and like weird noise. I'm talking about the way your guitar, interacts with a volume. Speaker and with the volume. And but for metal bands, it's a thing of convenience. There's this weird saying out there, it's like there's no money in jazz. Well, there's even less money in metal. Yeah. This is if you look at the big pie of music, metal is like, the smallest of them all. And then in the past 10 years, it has been like so divided into like all these stupid categories that nobody gives a shit about. It's like, okay, we're doing progressive metal, and then we're doing progressive this and that, and then we're doing gent, and we're doing this, and it's like, this is supposed to bring people together and not divide them into like different
factions,
communities, and lifestyles attached to it as well. And if you listen to that, you're like, you're this, and you think this way, and it's so stupid. So all these metal bands, they need to travel as light as possible, because they don't get paid, or they get paid the expenses, but they have a chance to play with maybe a bigger band, and that's gonna maybe roll some things for them. It's
and I understand that. I mean, obviously,
but it's a lot less. It's a lot less fun. To me, playing with an in-ear and no stage monitor, that's like, I don't even want to describe how it feels. It's just
disconnected.
It's disconnected. It's like, a friend of mine described it as having sex with a bucket on your head. You can do it, but it's not fun.
I like that.
Yeah, I do. Like
it's a weird kind of disconnected feeling, and every time I hear somebody saying, it's so great because you can move freely on stage, and it's like, yeah, exactly, because you're connected to absolutely nothing, and you're always going to have the same sound no matter what, no matter how hard you hit the string, how it's not for me.
Yeah. Well, isn't Metallica all in-ear and Axe effects?
I think so.
Yeah, and you'd be blatantly honest, ever since they made that switch, I think they've sounded horrible. I mean,
I would imagine so, yeah.
It's not, you can look at older videos and newer videos and just listen to them. It's not the same. It's not the same. But hey.
And for them, it's not a convenient. Like, what are they saving money by?
They're saving money on their shipping.
Yeah.
But that's always sort of funny too, because I deal with a lot of these bands, and then we're saving money on the shipping and this and that, and then they build this huge rack, the power amp, and a backup system, and 2 or 3 Axe FXs, and all the wirelesses, and it's in this big tall rack. And I go, is that really saving that much in the shipping?
Right.
I mean, you could pare down your rig to a half stack.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go smaller, you know what I mean? Like, you can, that's not too bad. I mean, honestly, you could do it with a 212 and a head. That's getting pretty small,
Yeah, and you just mic it up and you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But I guess it's about it's yeah, again, it's convenient for the guy who has to handle all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's more convenient for these guys. You need less guys to carry all that shit around. You most likely
Sort of.
yeah, sort of, exactly. And you don't need to worry about maintenance because you switch it on. It's basically a computer. It sounds the same every night. Blah blah blah. It's all that kind of stuff. What I found extremely annoying was that I had a conversation with Peter from Diesel. And so Hatfield had always played VH4s, also live, and maybe some alternative stuff, but they were always they always had a great connection. And at some point, their technician called up Peter and said, "Well, we just switched to the XFX, and we cannot get the sound right. So could you help us? Could you help us, make our XFX sound more like your VH4?"
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
they really asked you that? Yeah, and he said, yeah, they really asked me that. And I told them, to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Here, switching gears completely. Unfucking Believable has another great question. And this is a good question, actually. Serious question. What steps has Reverb taken against chipsons or fakes?
Oh, right. Yeah. So, we actually have a really great listings team in Chicago in our headquarters, but also in Amsterdam. And these guys, so we have certain mechanisms to give us red flags on certain listings. For example, there was one case where a guy would sell, I think it was like this extremely expensive Music Man John Petrucci guitar that costed like $20,000 or something because it has like diamonds in them. Like totally weird. But so there was basically a guy who wanted to sell this thing, and he put up pictures, but he blacked out certain parts every time there was the serial number, and I don't know, it's like important parts he blacked out, which made it look like he doesn't have the guitar and he stole the pictures from somewhere and he just wanted to, cash in the money, or maybe he would have bought the guitar from that respective dealer and then, sold it for a higher value, whatever. But our systems send us red flags that here something is wrong with these images. And we also have mechanisms and algorithms to check stuff that doesn't add up. So we are always very careful and very thorough with these kind of checks, especially when it comes to fake guitars. And then usually a lot of these fake guitars are sold by first-time sellers. So that's another thing that we take into consideration so there's a guy who has never sold on Reverb, and suddenly he comes up and he has, I don't know how many Gibsons for insanely low prices. Another red flag. So there are a couple of things to prevent these things from happening. And we will be successful in the majority of cases. But obviously we cannot, there are guys that are just really clever and intelligent and go about this. So we always encourage every buyer, especially if somebody doesn't have a record, like feedback on Reverb, to really pay attention. And if something smells or looks fishy, then we have a flag below every listing to like, hey, can you look into this? This looks weird. I'm interested in this, but I'm not 100% sure if that's legit.
Right.
So we have a couple of things in place to prevent people from buying, Gibson Les Paul Customs for $400.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of that stuff being sold online anyway, but I haven't really come across a lot of fake stuff on Reverb, at least myself.
No, it's not. It's not that big of an issue because we try our best to, give everybody a good experience, and that includes these security mechanisms to make sure that these guys don't have a chance selling that stuff. And they will eventually do that on AliExpress or Alibaba, what these funky Chinese marketplaces are called.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Cecil Music says Akira Takasaki of Loudness, underrated killer tone.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Loudness rings a bell.
Japanese heavy metal band in the 80s.
Right.
Big, huge in Japan. He was the Eddie Van Halen of Japan, basically.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, and they were in the 80s. I mean, what big festival did they play in the U.S.? Do you remember, Dave?
Well, they when?
In the 80s. Didn't they play like some big festival in the 80s?
Don't remember.
I saw it online, but I can't remember.
But they had opened up for in the 80s. They had opened up on which tour was that? They opened up for Motley Crue in the 80s in Dr. Feelgood tour, maybe, or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christo P, happy birthday from the other day, Dave. Cheers from Australia. Josh Lamas, hey guys, is it worth getting an SDE 3000 rack unit or just settling for a DD 500? How close is the vintage digital patch to the real thing? Dave,
Pretty close. And it's a lot more convenient, and it's MIDI. So it depends on what your needs are and what you want to do. I mean, I like old gear too, so but it's pretty convenient to have the DD500.
Yeah, it sounds
good. But I totally understand the question because I had so on those tours with the metal band. Yeah. I was playing the VH4 and I had two Roland SDE 1000s in my rack. Yeah. Two of them. Good. Yeah, I guess because they were like some of the first like digital delays, but because of the converters being like 10-bit or something, they sounded pretty analog. And well, I just bought them because Ty Tabor had them, and then I was happy with them anyway. So.
Yeah. Dave, you got. What's that, Dave?
There's a lot of great old gear like that. That sounds amazing.
You have several of those SDE 3000s, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Also, the reverb that they made in that series too, SRV 2000.
Right. Yeah.
That sounded amazing. Some of the plate and halls in there are just crisp and cool and just really great.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I've said this before to a lot of people, is all those old things, all the old lexicons and the old Roland processors and old Korg, they all sounded amazing. But that's because even though they were inferior converters, the analog circuitry that was actually around those inferior converters was so much better than anything they use today.
Right.
Today it's disposable, sort of what you were sort of talking about in some respects. It's like great converters and great technology now, but then the art of the audio signal path has been lost. Except it's high-end recording gear, but it's just.
Yeah, it's fun. They kind of replaced that totally, like kind of flip-flopped the whole thing. Now they're like, this thing has the best converters that you can buy on the market, blah blah. But everything else is like.
Why does it sound like
okay?
What? Yeah, why does it sound like shit?
Yeah.
But I can plug in this old delay from 1982 and it sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's why it's still in a lot of studio racks, as like in the side rack, because either these guys have plugins that work well for them, and that sound okay, or they have a side rack and then they just integrate these like lexicon reverbs.
Yeah.
Some of these old clunky machines, they sound pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
By the way, Dave, I don't know if I told you, but the ADA MP1 preamp that was given to me, the guy can't fix it.
Why?
He said it was actually too technical from whatever he was telling me. He basically said that there was something wrong internally that kept rebooting, and it wouldn't bring up the program or something like that, and something with a relay. I don't know, whatever he was saying. So he was like, he fixed the jacks for me, and I was like, well, I'll just come back and pick it up. He basically said he could fix it. This is the thing. He said he could fix it, but it was going to cost more than it was worth.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'm not. He was like, I think I can fix it for about $350.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a software issue.
I honestly didn't understand what he was telling me. He was really talking over my head about what was wrong with it.
Didn't you get it for free?
I did get it for free.
I mean, you'd only have $350 into it. I don't know. What do those go for used? I don't even know.
About $350, $400.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, if it's a software issue, what you could do, I mean, the EEPROM, all those things is pretty accessible, and you can change it yourself. So if you find a new EEPROM, maybe with an updated firmware version, that could help. And these EEPROMs are normally they go for like, I don't know, $50-$60. And you can change these yourself. It's as easy as changing a light bulb, pretty much.
Interesting. All right. Well, it's not a bad idea, Dave. I told him that I was going to just come pick it up, but maybe I should just tell him that. I don't know. I mean, do you think it's worth it to have it fixed?
It depends on how bad you want it.
Well, I mean,
I don't think 350 is out of the question. I mean, it's like you got it for free, so I mean, then you'd be basically buying the unit for $350.
Right.
As long as he can fix it for that.
Well, that's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want it to be an a cycle of, oh, it's fucked up now, and I just spent another it's a money pit. So.
Or you just go buy one.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I can just go to Reverb.com and buy one.
Go to Reverb.com and buy one. Boom.
Here's another funny thing that I've noticed. People are pretty split up into camps when it comes to rack gear. It's so I find it to be super funny, because there's like 50% of the people are going to be like, no, leave me alone with rack gear. Who wants, that's so 80s. And then you have other people that find it to be convenient enough. I don't know what is what you guys think? Does rack gear it's gonna go and relive, or?
I think
it's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, with stuff on the market like the Axe effects, which can be used as a processor. It doesn't necessarily have to use amp modeling in it. With stuff, even a Helix rack could be used that way. I don't know. There's a lot to be said. The funny thing is we keep bringing up, should we ever make a guitar preamp? A tube guitar preamp. Should we ever make that? And there's so many people using racks now with their Axe effects and things. It's not that foreign to have a rack now. And in a lot of respects, back in the late 80s, when everything was in a rack, it was in a very easy to move, well, sort of easy to move, easy to plug in easy to get on and off stage because you had a controller board that you probably plugged in, set on top of your rack, right? And then it's just speaker cables to the cab.
True.
And it rolls. That's quicker than having 2 amps and a pedal board. It was actually a better concept. So I don't know. I'd like to make a guitar preamp. That would be fun.
Yeah, right. I mean, with the synergy stuff being out there, which is essentially something you would put into one of those racks.
Yeah, it would be cool to have a Friedman branded though, all in one with IRs built in. Tube preamp.
Right. Yeah,
that would be fun.
Yeah, you could do that, and you could one if you wanted to play the I, you just plug it in XLR jack with an IR, or if you wanted to go, I see a lot of people go in hybrid these days, so they have something that feeds to the PA system straight away, but then also they use a cabinet because they just want that moving air on stage.
Yeah, is that what you do with Amp One? Cabinet.
Depends on the location. So we recently played a show and we opened up for a band called 10cc. Maybe 10cc that had a couple of hits in the 80s.
Yeah, I think so.
I remember.
Yeah, and 90s. And it was a pretty big venue. And the guy said, everything here is pretty much set up for DI. But if you want to have a stage volume through your cab, you can do that. So I just use a torpedo cab M with the output. So I just patched it through and then to my cab and sent it to him, and he was happy. For the smaller clubs, I don't see that happening because the PA systems are crap. So I'd always prefer cranking up the amp and play the cabinet. Just makes more sense. With the Iridium though, it's a bit different. I've only been playing DI with that heavier amp because I haven't found the right cab yet for it. I was actually at Musikproduktiv a couple of weeks ago to do some testing. Your esteemed 2x12 is still in my top 3, so I might choose one of those.
Those are nice.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You know a guy. A couple of guys.
Yeah.
Right. That's funny. Aaron Cram says Tame Down Metal sucks. I agree.
Tame Down Metal sucks? Yeah, right. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BMO says he'd like to hear me do a pick slide right now. Sorry, I'm not plugged in.
That's such a funny request.
Right?
It's like, come on, do it now.
Do a pick slide. Let's see. Hey Dave, Sean Tubbs needs a new pedal board. See his latest video. Let's convince him to come out for NAMM and build him a new board. I'll pitch in some. That was from El Scott Music.
I answered him further down. I go, sounds like a plan.
I didn't see that video yet. Sean is good.
I did. I saw. I didn't watch it yet, but I saw it. I'll have to reach out. So.
Oh, if you want to hear a great sounding band, go see Government Mule.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
100%. Yeah. I've seen them live here in Germany. They're amazing.
They are amazing.
They're not afraid of stage volume.
Oh yeah.
Warren Haynes, man, that guy can play. Although it's too bad that what was the name of their bass player? Woody, something, that the bass player who passed away from that band. He was really good.
Yeah, but now they got Jurgen. Jurgen's fantastic.
Where's he from?
Jurgen is Pete Thorne's buddy and friend, and
Oh.
Jurgen is just a monster bass player. He loves playing through like 200-watt Marshalls with bass, like just mean and growling and
Nice.
Wow.
So he's that guy.
Lemmy style.
Yeah. So he does that with Government Mule. So
They're a great band. Yeah, some of their early albums are just really great. And Cecil Music asked, does Warren still use a Soldano? I think he does.
I think so.
I think I saw a Rick rundown not that long ago where it was still a Soldano. Yeah, I think.
Uh-huh.
I think that's still the case.
Yeah, I think so. And then I also think that he played. There's Soldano, and he might have another amp there, like a Diaz or something like that,
Yeah, I think so.
if I remember correctly. Metal Madness 66. It was 1985 that Loudness opened up for Crew on the Theater of Pain tour. I saw.
I didn't remember.
I saw them in Philly.
I saw it.
What's that?
I saw it. The funny thing is, as a kid, I saw all these concerts, and now I've worked for almost all of them. It's kind of a trip to.
That's amazing. That's amazing, right?
It's kind of when you think about it, you're like, wow. I mean, I had Akira in my shop. He plays my B100 amps, and he's got two of them, and he was in here. He did a video for us. And just to sit here watching him just noodle around on the guitar, you're just like, oh yeah, wow, just aggressive. And he would play all the songs that I knew, like all bits and pieces of all these songs, and it was just like, oh yeah, listen to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you said he was like the Eddie Van Halen of Japan, right?
Yeah, he was known as sort of the Eddie Van Halen of Japan. Yeah, he's
right.
Was the big guitar hero for Japan.
Wow.
Does he still play your amp, the BE100?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Cecil, that was your question. Okay, so Stephen Douglas says best 80 tones. Every player that played through Michael Wagner's MP1 Macintosh rig. Nuno, Brava, Hill, Sabo. Okay.
See, I'm going to go on and limb here and say I'm not the hugest fan of the ADA. That wasn't for me. I find it a bit. Even those guys you just mentioned, I can hear it in all of those things. That well, it was the same rig, like a Wagner's rig. But I don't know. It was a little. It's hard to explain. It's a little less than organic. Yeah, it's like Ty Tabor, great sound. Eddie Van Halen, of course, obviously, the one that everyone chased forever. Loudness, Warren D. Martini.
Oh, right, yeah.
Some of the Lynch records, the Dokken records, not all of them. All these guys had kind of really recognizable tones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of great 80s guitar players that just didn't have real recognizable tones, like no signature tones.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There are some guys that just stand out because they, not only could they and can they play, and they have that sort of attitude with their playing, but also they found the right tools to magnify that, bring it out, and that's some.
And then some of them lost
rare.
It.
Yeah.
Some of them, that amazing tone that we all love, they hate now, and they don't want it anymore. But
Yeah, it's kind of kind of sad to see that everything becomes very very sort of the same.
Yeah.
With all these guys, playing the same stuff. I mean, so we have this annual technical metal festival or gent festival here in Cologne, which is a cool festival. It's a great community, and it's fun to be there, and it's fun to hang out. But the thing is that all of these, pretty much 80% of these bands, they play either an Axe-Fx or a Kemper or some kind of other digital stuff, and everything's controlled through a laptop. And the laptop does all the patch changes for them, and the laptop controls the light show, and the laptop also brings them the backing tracks that they have, because the production is so massive.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's just too much technology. And I've seen some of these guys' systems fail, and they are not able to come up with a good show without that stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, that would be an absolute nightmare. Being on stage is like, we cannot play because our computer just failed. We have a blue screen issue. We can't, we can't play. And I think, relying on technology to some extent, fine, absolutely fine with me. There's great technology out there, use it 100%. But when it comes to putting on a good show, nah.
Yeah, a band has to
play a show, man.
Play. Yeah, the band has to sound good just playing together as a band, without everything else.
Mm-hmm.
A perfect example. My client, signature artist that we have, Jerry Cantrell, Alice in Chains, they have 0 tracks.
Yeah.
There's no tracks. Anytime you've seen them, there is 0. It's all of them singing and playing, and that's what they sound like. And there's a lot to be said for that. A lot of people have accused, there must be tracks. And I've known the sound guy really well that used to mix them all the time. He's like, there's no fucking tracks here. If you can find the tracks here, tell me where they are.
No, it's exactly. If you're a good band, if if you're good at what you do, you don't need a laptop to play your backing tracks and whatnot. If you're somebody like Devin Townsend, for example, who really has a production that includes lots of layers and strings and synths and whatnot, there's no way around this. You need to have that, because otherwise people are going to be disappointed. But like for
Kiss,
a metal band,
yeah,
freaking Kiss.
Yeah.
Backing tracks, come on. It's a joke.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's absolutely weird. And then some guys that should have backing tracks are not using them. I've seen somebody recently in Munich using his phone to record some bits and pieces of a Bon Jovi concert, and that was just really awful, because John Bon Jovi was at least, I don't know, a half tone lower singing on most of like the hits, like Living on a Prayer, and he's like totally off.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't hear it, he doesn't recognize it, and that's when he's like, okay, use a backing track or don't play.
What's that, Dave?
I can tell you stories about that one.
Yeah?
Not on air.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, it's kind of, kind of weird. I used to be sort of a Bon Jovi fan in the early 90s, especially when they hit their peak, like the mid 90s or something, and they were such a great live band. And then you see them touring, and the musicians are great. Obviously Phil is an amazing musician, is a great player, but if the lead singer sucks, then what's it worth?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Interesting.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I feel the same way about, unfortunately, about David Lee Roth and Van Halen.
Oh.
I
Okay.
Yeah, this should be very interesting. I can't wait to actually. I can't wait to actually see this one.
yeah. Yeah.
The band's really good. I can tell you that they're rehearsing across the street. So
I'm sure it's going to sound great. I mean, Alice Stroud.
band's killer.
Al's
Sounds
great.
amazing. But
So what's going on? They're reunited and they're
David Lee Roth is doing a solo tour. He's doing a residency in Vegas,
And then he's opening for Kiss.
oh
and then he's opening for Kiss on the whole next leg of their tour.
okay.
And they got a great this guitar player Alice Strada, who's from out here in Southern California. That is he played
that name.
Van Halen, a band cover band called Eruption or something for a while, and he can do it verbatim, verbatim, just really really well.
And he's been doing it for years. So.
And they're doing all the Vice stuff also, and all the
Oh wow.
yeah, he's been doing. That's the best guy possible for that gig. So
Gotcha. Okay.
so the band sounds great. We'll see about the singing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny. I have to because that seems to be like an age-old question as well, as Diamond Dave, or
Sammy.
the other guy. And I have to say, I have down in my living room, I have a vinyl that I really love, and it's actually my favorite Van Halen record, and it's 5150. So it's not Diamond Dave. So I'm guilty. Because I really like the songs on that record. It's just
Oh, it's a great
Yeah.
record. There's no doubt about it. It's just, to me, it's just not as good as the Dave stuff. But you're younger than us, though, Frank. I think. So
that's possible. It's possible, and also Van Halen was way bigger in the US, and is still way bigger than it was in Germany. I mean, it was big in Germany, but there's no comparison to the US. Not even a chance.
yeah, they were massive here.
They never worked the European markets very much back in the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they didn't
that's
like
true.
going to Europe, evidently.
Interesting.
I don't know why. I think I'd rather get out of here.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in Europe.
Maybe they couldn't get good drugs back then in Europe.
Well, you can always go to the Netherlands, right? I mean,
That's true. That's
that was another fun thing that I experienced last year at NAMM, because I mean, yeah, in Europe, if you want to have a good time and you want to enjoy yourself, you go to Amsterdam, because you can drink, you can smoke weed, whatever, and walk around the red light district and entertain yourself. And then last year we arrived at NAMM, and we arrived a couple of days earlier to settle in with the time change and everything. And the first thing my colleagues, some of my colleagues, were doing is like, we have to go to a dispensary. And I was like, what the hell is a dispensary? Because I didn't realize that weed was just legalized in California the beginning of that year. And I have to give it to these guys. It's, if they do something, they do it professional. So we went to this dispensary, and you get in there, and they have I don't know how many million different sorts of weed. And then these really nice ladies that explained, he was like, hey, if you want to sleep, this is good for you. If you want to be creative, this is good for you. And I was like, and this thing is clean as a pharmacy.
right.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So basically, Los Angeles is like Amsterdam, but with way better climate than Amsterdam has. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's for sure. This past, the first, I think 2 years ago when I went to NAMM, not this last year, but the year before that, was the first year that I was just like, I cannot believe how much pot smoking is going on outside of the NAM. Like the outside of the NAM building was just like, no matter where you went, it was just like, wow. It's just the strongest scent of pot everywhere. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty insane.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's I mean, it's okay. It's definitely not gonna harm you as much as other heavy stuff does, or like extreme everyday, drinking until you pass out.
Oh yeah. No doubt about that. Hey, Peter Urban, thank you for the super chat. You rock. Send me your address. I'm going to send you a Tone Talk t-shirt too for the holidays. All right, Peter? Thanks for many great episodes in 2019. Keep it up, Mark, Dave, and guests. Here's to a fabulous 2020. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate that. Let's see.
And on that note, I mean, we probably should let this poor man go to sleep.
Yes, probably. Probably.
I'm fine. I think I've passed the point. It's totally up to you guys.
That's good.
I probably have to get going too here. We've already been at about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, I'm definitely going to check out some King's X albums.
Absolutely.
Make sure you guys
100%.
Yeah. Make sure you guys check out reverb.com. Frank, please tell us about your bands, where people can reach you, if see you on social media, your channel on YouTube.
Sure, yeah, I can. I'm just gonna leave some stuff in the comments, if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
It's the YouTube channel is not really big, but every time I do something, I do it with passion. I'm having fun. People can also listen to the album on the YouTube channel. It's up there. Yeah, sure. I'm going to put some stuff in the comments.
Okay. What's the name of the band too?
I have this project that I do on my own, which is called Path to Happiness.
Okay.
Which I released one album. And the band that I'm currently playing in is a local band. It's and a German band on top of it with German lyrics. So I'm pretty sure it's not going to be that interesting to people. But everything else I'm going to link into the comments. And if you want, you can pin it, and then
I will pin it.
People can see it.
We'll do. So we're going to be at NAMM, people. So we're probably not going to be on and have a show until after NAMM. Probably, I'd imagine, Dave, right?
Yeah, probably not. I'm going to be
swamped,
knee deep in stuff, finishing the black, and red, and small,
the riddle,
and silver ones.
All right.
So, yeah, guys can keep thinking about that riddle.
I'm curious to see if people actually figure it out.
Someone might have figured something out, but
the red one's the only one that gives it away. The red one's the only one, but I'm not sure.
The red one. Okay.
Well, Frank, man, thank you so much. It's a pleasure knowing you. You're a great guy, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. Everybody check out reverb.com if you don't. Purchase there, and then Sweetwater.com is our sponsor on the show, so you guys check out Sweetwater. I'm going to post links to some deals for Sweetwater and stuff like that down below in the comments, so make sure you click that. Please hit subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll be back probably in about a month with another show. So Frank, hang on while we say goodbye, and
all right,
everybody have a great weekend. Thank you so much for joining. Dave, thank you.
Yeah.
Take care.